Alright, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. Today we're going to get back to the Imagine issue and why I am frustrated overall with the RV industry. On the last episode I talked to you guys about how things have kind of gone downhill steadily since '08. Now that doesn't mean sales have gone down, because we all know sales went through the ceiling during COVID because people were looking for a safe way to travel. Kids were basically homeschooling, so people found they could work from the road, they could travel, good times. Sales went through the roof. But unfortunately quality didn't go through the roof. It actually went down even further, if you can believe that's possible. So today I want to get back to my story on what happened to me on the Imagine roof and what my experience was at the factory. And the reason I'm telling this story now is because I see what's going on with frame flex issues for fifth wheelers, and I feel sorry for these people. And I also get kind of a sick knot in my stomach when they say, well, I'm going back to the factory and they're going to fix it and it's going to be great. Probably not. Just because that repair is pretty complicated. And, you know, I'm not sure that, and this is just my opinion, I'm not sure things will ever be right again with a unit that's gone through that. But I may be wrong. My experience was I had gotten back up on my roof and I believe this was late 2020, and I noticed that there were issues with it, and I called back into Grand Design, and believe me, I kept every text message, everything on this roof from the dealership, and they were like, okay, yeah, we'll take care of it. They wanted to see photos, they actually wanted to see a video, which I did that too. My concern was that the panels underneath the decking seemed to be raising at the seams, and I just didn't want to deal with that. And I mean, the only way to really repair that is get that roof off, get everything screwed down tight, and put a new roof on. So I thought, man, what could be better than taking my trailer back to Grand Design, the place where it was birthed. I mean, these people obviously, they work on these every day. I mean, you couldn't get a better job. So we had a trip to Wisconsin. On the way back from Wisconsin, we swung over to Indiana, dropped the trailer off. It was supposed to be a, basically they said, you know, give us, I think they said like 6 to 8 weeks, which was no problem. I mean, I knew I was going to have to drive back up and get it. They actually ended up finishing it early, and they called me and said, hey, your trailer's done. Do you want to come and get it? And I was like, Tammy was facing some orthopedic surgery, like, I want to say the next week, or say like 4 or 5 days later, and she said, and they had said, if you're not going to pick it up, we're just going to throw it back on the lot. And I didn't like the sound of that at all, so I said, you know what, I'll come up and get it. So I drove nonstop on a Saturday, and I got up there and I'm driving from North Texas, the Dallas area. I drove nonstop. I think I pulled into the campground about, I want to say, you know, maybe 1:15 a.m. Trailer was supposed to be locked. It wasn't, which, you know, it's on their site. I really wasn't that concerned about that, but I went in and I crashed. The next morning I got up and I went outside and I met the people next to me. They were having coffee at their picnic table, and we talked for a minute, and I said, well, I'm going to go see, you know, how the roof looks. So I went up to the back of the trailer and I turned the corner, and the first thing I noticed is my ladder was damaged, and not in a small way. It was really bent up. And so you know, that was kind of that should have been that should have been the first red flag, you know, that told me things were going to get worse. And they did. So I got up on the roof and I started to look at that. And I'm telling you, it looked like a high school project. The roof itself, the TPO material, was fine at that point. And but the job that they did with sealing things was absolutely terrible. It looked like someone, like my trailer had been like a training ground for someone. And that's when it kind of struck me that I don't think the people that are working in the repair facility have ever worked at the plant doing this job. And needless to say, I'm pissed. And I go back down into the trailer, and I thought, I better look at, some of the other stuff in here. And I find a rip in my vinyl floor by the seats. And I don't know if that happened because someone sat in a chair when the slide was in. I don't know. I don't know what caused it. It was a nice gouge though. And then I noticed that the skylight had long scratches through it on the inside. And, I was just, you can imagine what that's like when you go to a factory that made your trailer and this is the kind of work they do. There were probably a couple other things that I spotted that aren't coming to mind right off the top of my head. But I went back out and I went over, the neighbors were still sitting out, and I had a chat with them, and they're like, oh, it's going to be great, they'll take care of you. On Monday morning, though, you got to get up there early. Valerie, she gets in here at like 5 a.m. And by the way, Valerie's a very nice person. I feel sorry for her having to deal with some of this stuff, but regardless, that's the job she's picked. So that was a Sunday. These guys, in my estimation, next to me had kind of been drinking the Kool-Aid, and they were and believe me, they had a very easy repair. They were just having like an audio unit replaced in their fifth wheel, and that turned into a freaking nightmare for them later, which I'll share. They went about their business, and the rest of the day I just kind of lounged around, went down, walked down the street, got some food at like a gas station, brought it back. The next morning, man, I got up early and I was waiting, and I think I was the first person to talk to Valerie in the morning, and I just started taking out my pictures and showing her, look at this, look at this, look at this, and she admitted, yeah, this is terrible, we'll take care of it. Well, and now it's raining. And so like I'm thrilled. I should have been on the road yesterday because Tammy's surgery is going to be on Wednesday, and I wanted to get home and get the trailer put away and stuff and get ready for that. And now all of a sudden it's Monday, so now I've got basically I wanted to break up the days to get home. So I figured I'll get out of here on Monday. I'll get to Memphis. And then the next day I'll get home, and then the next day we'll deal with Tammy's orthopedic surgery. So, but that made me anxious because I wasn't sure how long it was going to take for them to repair it, and they pulled it in, and man, they did. I'm not going to get up on the roof when it's raining. Had I, dang, I don't know if I would have seen everything at that point or not. But anyway, they got the ladder replaced. They resealed the roof, they told me, and the skylight was replaced. And that I could see when I went into the trailer. So I got everything packed up. Meanwhile, and I want to just share, this is kind of a side issue, and accidents happen, people make mistakes, stuff like that. Well, the guy that was with his wife who said they're so good, while my trailer was still being worked on, they had their unit replaced and they left. Well, apparently and I don't know much about fifth wheel hitches, but apparently they took like a skid plate or something off at the factory and forgot to put it back on, and he noticed when he got onto the highway or something, so he doubled back. About 5 guys came out when he pulled up, and I said, I thought you guys were done, you were going home. And he said no, and he told me what happened, and then they're going to take care of it. And I said, oh, okay. So and remember, these are the folks that said, oh, it's great, so I start walking up to check in with Valerie to see how they're doing, because my trailer had been sitting at that at the dock door for quite a while. And with the rain coming down, I thought I heard thunder at first. It was loud, but it wasn't. It was their fifth wheel falling on top of their truck. Those guys had, I don't know, not installed something correctly. They were all there, but man, I just about jumped out of my socks. It was so loud. And anyway, I didn't go into that mix. I just headed in. I talked to her. I came back out, and the woman that owned the fifth wheel with her husband came up to me and she said, check everything, check everything. And I was like, yep. So anyway, that kind of gets us to the end of this episode. It's going to get more interesting, trust me. I just don't want to make one enormously long video about this. I want to kind of cut it into segments, because it does get more interesting and more frustrating as we go along. To say that it was a wild trip home that night would be an understatement. I actually got to the KOA in Memphis after they were locking the doors, and they basically, one guy was nice enough to hang around and take me down to the site, and the electrical didn't work there, don't know why. Then they moved me to another site, but all of this being done probably 10 p.m., something like that. So next day got home, just put the trailer away and decided that's it for now. I'm going to deal with this stuff later, because we had things to do. Life goes on. It's not all about the travel trailer. It's not all about beer either. And I mean, I have a lot of camping shirts that talk about beer, but I'm not always drinking beer when I'm camping. But the kids must think I am. So anyway, next episode we'll get into what happens next and why I'm frustrated. I'm not frustrated right now. I mean, my Imagine's great, but we'll get on with the next episode and I'll share that. So stay tuned for part 3.